shows lean left, some lean right, but we lean local and business. This is North Georgia Business Radio X with Phil Bonelli. For the next hour, we will celebrate the businesses in our area and the people that run them. Find us on Facebook at North Georgia Business Radio X and online at northgeorgiabusinessradiox.com. Now, here's Phil Bonelli.
What keeps you up at night? Hey, North Georgia Business Radio X audience. I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here today with the one and only Trey Wood of Turner, Wood & Smith Insurance. Running a business, doing what you do as an entrepreneur, there are certainly many things which keep you up at night. The good thing is, many of them you can protect yourself with insurance. So happy to have you here, Trey. And we know what you do. With insurance is something that a lot of times people don't want to think about. They don't want to think about bad things that could possibly happen. But thank goodness there's folks like you and Turner Wood & Smith Insurance that help protect businesses and individuals when things go wrong. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me. It's a huge honor to be here with you.
Oh, happy to have you.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Insurance isn't the first thing on people's minds, and I go and say it. Nobody likes paying insurance, but when you need it, you need it.
Right. When you need it, you need it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you focus in the insurance industry, and then about Turner Wood & Smith, the firm.
Yeah. So I'm Trey Wood with Turner Wood & Smith Insurance, one of 8 partners. I've been there since 2008. Went to college, actually, for insurance. Went to the University of Georgia, which has the #1 program in the country. Graduated in 2008. Came back here, worked for a family firm. Honored to say my grandfather started. My dad took it to the next level. And now it's up to me and the other 7 partners to continue to grow it. But we're a full service agency. Do business insurance, health insurance, personal insurance. I like to tell people if there's a type of insurance, we do it. I've got over 40 employees.
Wow.
And we're right here in Gainesville and always will be in Gainesville.
So you're in Gainesville. So obviously you cover Gainesville-Hall County. Mm-hmm. What's the overall reach the firm generally has?
Yes, I mean, while we've got a local presence, we actually do insurance all over the world. I've got clients in United Kingdom. We've got programs that go all over the United States. So it's pretty good. So we're local presence, family feel, but also have national and global capabilities.
So let me ask you this: so the third generation,
mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah.
How often do you think of that, and how does that make you feel? I mean, that's quite a legacy to be building, continuing to build.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of pressure. Coming in, seeing what my grandfather did, and then obviously what my dad's done, there's a lot of pressure to do that, mm-hmm. but it's been a great learning experience for me. My dad, I will go and say, is one of the best teachers of insurance that there is.
All right.
He did a great job for me. But it's hard. You don't want to disappoint your family. So you do kind of go the extra mile, and it forces you to do that. But it's been a great opportunity. I don't know what else I would be doing if I wasn't doing insurance.
Well, I'm sure whatever it was, you'd be doing it well. But I'm glad you're doing insurance because you do that well. So plenty of our audience has a business, and some of them might be thinking, "Wow, I would love my business to mm-hmm. one day be a second and third generation business." And that's hard. And sometimes kids want to be involved. Sometimes they don't. Looking back, what do you think made it so that you said, "Wow, I want to come and be a part of the family firm," versus, "Wow, I grew up hearing my dad talk about that. I'm tired of it. I want to do something else"? Yeah,
for me, it was obviously Gainesville. I wanted to come back to Gainesville. I love Gainesville. I love North Georgia. I actually was set out to go to college to be a coach. I wanted to be a coach after I graduated from Lakeview. For the 2 summers, I interned at Turner Wood & Smith, and I started thinking, well, this is actually pretty cool. You got a flexible schedule. You compete a lot, so there's a bunch of sports to this. And then I sat down, had a conversation with my dad. And the thing that kind of convinced me is he said, you can do anything you want in this business, and you're not going to be stuck behind a desk with a strict schedule. So that helped out. Came in, and the biggest thing that I said that could help me is he made it hard for me in a good way. He didn't give me anything, and I feel like that's everybody at our agency. Our agency does a great job of giving ownership to people, and I think you've got to give people a piece of the pie if you want to continue to grow. And we have some stuff set up where that does that. And, for him, just cause he was my dad doesn't mean he was going to give me anything. And that's been the biggest lesson that's helped me out.
If you're just joining us on North Georgia Business Radio X, I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood of Turner Wood & Insurance, speaking currently about multi-generation businesses and getting some tips from Trey on how to best position your business. And I love that basically you were looking to do something else in coaching, which Trey coaches several sports. His youngsters just shellacked ours in basketball the other day. I got to see his coaching skills at work. And Trey wouldn't tell you this, but he's a heck of an athlete himself.
Thank you.
He's got a mean jump shot, folks.
Yes.
But and so he exposed you to it, so you did the internship. So you needed an internship. He gave you this opportunity, and then he gave you a challenge. So it was challenging. He told you the good parts, but then he didn't just hand it to you. You had to earn it.
Exactly.
And if that had backfired, then you wouldn't have been right for the business. So I think that's right. Give someone an opportunity. Give them ownership, an opportunity to either succeed or fail.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I came in, there was no plan B. So plan A had to work, and I was going to do whatever I could to make it work. And again, I cannot compliment our company and the other partners more than anything because, everybody was there always to help me when I first started. So nobody looked at me as the owner's son, which helped a whole lot. And my first year, I think I spent more time in my dad's office and Jimbo Floyd's office and Brent Logan's office than I did my own office asking questions. And I feel like that's one thing that helped me. And I try to talk about it with our younger guys. Be a student. Be a student of this. Nobody came in the first day and then was, all-star producer or all-star salesperson. So be a student your first couple of years.
Right. Well, I love that. And you mentioned the sales part, and you are looking to sell. You are selling insurance. But as with so many things, I mean, to effectively do that, you're really a consultant. So tell me about how you approach things that way.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I tell all my customers, if you don't trust me and I don't trust you, this ain't ever going to work. And I'm not there to waste your time. And I'm going to tell you what I feel like is the best for you, because I feel like if I can grow with you and be a partner with you for the next 20, 25 years, that's going to work out better than me trying to go in and just say, hey, here's your insurance premium, and, knowing it's not the right thing. So that's why we try to partner with our clients. So, I know insurance is an expense, but we don't want it to be such a burden on them that they can't operate.
Right. And, you're looking to get the most effective coverage that they need, and that although nobody wants to pay their premium, that's a lot better than covering a catastrophic event.
Yeah, everybody is different. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. So it goes into, here's all the options. Let's just sit down and talk and say, okay, this is what fits me. I mean, I don't think purchasing insurance is probably the best thing for every type of risk, but at least we come up with a plan to say, if X happens, how does it affect your business? How do you get back up and running? What happens in the meantime, and devise a plan from there.
I like it. When we return on North Georgia Business Radio X, we'll talk about how do you make that plan. what's the plan? Welcome back to North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood, premier commercial insurance agent in North Georgia. And if you're just joining us, Trey's spoken with us about a little bit about the history of the firm Turner Wood Smith, what they do, and we're talking about how a good partner, a good risk mitigation partner in your insurance is going to help you analyze the different types of risk that present themselves to your unique situation. And then they're going to walk through the different coverages, right? Because everything can be insured. I remember it cracked me up when I was younger, learning that Tina Turner's thighs, I think, were insured because they were worth, good bit of money. Anyway, for their likeness.
I'll tell a little story. When I was in college, at Georgia in 2007 and 8, and that was the years Matt Stafford was there. And I remember they blocked out his name, but everybody could kind of tell he had a policy covering his arm.
Wow.
In case he got hurt.
So anything can be insured.
Anything can be.
And there's people out there at Lloyd's of London or wherever, they're running the tables and they're figuring it out. So, if you're a business owner, the things that present risk to you could be confusing and you might miss some. And then how to best mitigate those can be quite confusing. So you need a partner. So tell us how you go about doing that. How does someone's insurance partner need to communicate and walk them through their options?
Yeah, I think obviously the first thing that you said is partner. I mean, that's a big thing. So, what we try to do is go down, sit and talk with our clients and prospects. Anybody that wants to talk with us, we'll go down, say, all right, tell us about your business, and then let's look through it. So, we look at everything from, property coverage. Okay, what happens if this building burns down? Do you have enough to replace it? Do you have enough in contents? What happens when you can't operate your business? Where are you going to move to? How are you going to get back up and running? Then we kind of look at crime. What happens if somebody's stealing from you? Policies there. Then, you go into like general liability. Okay, the society we're in wants to sue everybody for any little thing. So do you have enough limits or protection in case something does go wrong? And I tell people it is now when something goes wrong and not if something goes wrong. Then it kind of goes on to as coverages and trends start evolving. We look at like your HR liability. Okay. Do you have the proper procedures in place to terminate an employee or go through the job application? The biggest one we're seeing now is cyber insurance. That's
where I was going to ask about.
That is, it's pretty cool. It's pretty unique. We've had a lot of cyber claims. The hackers are always one step ahead. So, what happens when your computers get locked down? Is everybody sitting around? Do you throw them away? And then, the traditional auto insurance. As I was telling you, Phil, Georgia got rated the second worst driving state in America.
Whew.
And then the number one, which is not good, it's actually the worst, judicial state in America. So we're having the second worst most accidents, second worst drivers, and most lawsuits.
So does that play into the cost of premiums in the state of Georgia?
It does, yeah. When those two reports came out and you saw Georgia at top of one list and then second on another list, all the insurance companies kind of focused in and said, all right, there's a problem here. The benefit of working with an agent or a broker is there's multiple companies.
Right.
So we are going out representing our clients in the insurance marketplace to make sure we can get them the right coverages for them at the best price possible.
Right. If you're just joining us on North Georgia Business Radio X, I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood of Turner Wood Smith, talking about kind of the typical sort of, probably not typical, but the sort of relationship that you need to have with your risk mitigation partner, that being your insurance agent. So let's talk a little bit about the cyber insurance. Yeah. And I would also love to speak a little bit about fraud And, because the cyber, they can take over your computer and then you're shut down, or take over your system. But also, I see so much of imposter fraud and different ways that people are, duping businesses into, sending an ACH or a wire or a check to pay a vendor, but they've changed the information. So yeah, what's the latest you're seeing out there in cyber and fraud?
Yeah, so now it's all about the cyber crime. So as you mentioned, stealing people's bank accounts, transferring money out. When this whole cyber insurance first started, it was all the liability side.
Right.
So what happens if I get hacked into and people's information gets stolen, then I get sued. Where that's kind of tapered off some, this whole cyber crime is gone banana. There's a YouTube video out there that talks about the life of a hacker. And it's crazy because, what happens is you got these college kids that know how to code. And so they just go and make fraudulent emails, looks like real emails, sends them out to a whole company. Somebody clicks on it, and now they've downloaded it into their system. And this person's sitting there watching every click they make for 2 months. And then, we've actually had this happen where they go into somebody's email, set up a folder, and then write the code where the owner is corresponding with them. It goes into a separate folder that the true person never sees. And then they start moving money out.
Yeah.
And, can show all the stuff. So it is crazy. I mean, we've seen it. I think I've had 8 cyber claims this past year.
Wow.
Which they were all different. But it is the new way that people are going to. So I tell people all the time, if you don't have cyber insurance, you need to look at it.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, if you are a business owner and if your strategy to protect yourself from cyber crime is, stick your head in the sand, or if you think, oh, I haven't been hit with fraud, I'm probably okay. It is just a matter of time. And you need to speak with your bank, and you need to speak with your insurance agent about ways to protect yourself. And if your insurance agent doesn't know anything about it, you need to call Trey, because it's serious stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I've seen a client get shut down for a month.
Oh.
Trying to negotiate with the hacker, and then they bringing in people. I mean, a bunch of the insurance companies have hired ex-FBI agents.
Wow.
To come in and talk and, be there when a hacking happens. But it is complete chaos when that happens. So, yeah, like you said, it's no more just I'm throw the computer away and then start back up. It's as everybody's going more cloud-based, it's become harder and harder. And I tell people in the future, it's not going to be less technology. It's going to be more technology. So we've got to put a plan in place.
Have a plan in place. Amen. So on that, you need to take care of things on the front end. You need to protect yourself both potentially with insurance coverage, if that makes sense. Also, best practices in a process. What do you see if somebody does get hit with the cyber crime or with fraud? What should they do? What should be their first call?
Yeah, so obviously notify the bank
Right.
is one. Notify us, because what we'll do is turn it into the actual insurance company, and they have a whole team that will come in. So, there's all kinds of laws and regulations saying, okay, if you've been hacked, you have to notify everybody you have a file on. So we'll bring in a PR company, a data notification company. As I said, the ex-FBI or somebody to talk with the hacker, say how much to release our data. So it's to that. People ask me all the time, well, I'll just call the police. Well, the police aren't worrying about a $10,000 or $100,000 hacking.
Right.
So, I tell people too, I get this question, well, I'm so small, it won't happen to me, but it will.
It's just a matter of time.
That's exactly.
All right, we'll pick up with that right after the break. Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. That's a quote by Mike Tyson, the great American philosopher. I am Phil Bonelli, your host on North Georgia Business Radio X, here with Trey Wood of Turner, Wood & Smith Insurance. And everyone does have a plan until they get the proverbial hit in the mouth. And what Trey and I were speaking about before the break, which if you're just joining us, welcome. Please go back and listen to the rest of the show because there's some great information in here and some more to come. But you have to have a plan. When something happens, when you have that hacker come, when you have an employee, run the company vehicle into a school bus, when something happens, chaos can break loose, and it's so important to have a partner who can help step in to take care of things. And you guys do a great job of that.
Thank you.
Great job of service. So in the first segment, you mentioned that relationship is so key, right? So you want to work with companies that, hey, you're going to be with them and be their insurance risk mitigation partner for the next 20, 30 years and grow with them. And that's something that I think is important because when you may have at some point in time gotten your insurance set up, walked through things for your company, and you feel like you're good. Well, 3 or 4 years later, your business could have changed. We got insurance for our farm, which was pretty much like, hey, if the barn burns down or a cow walks into the road, what's that gonna be like? But then other things happen. Then when we have a whole lot of finished goods and they're in freezers and freezers could go out, I need to update things. So walk me through, Trey, what is your typical cadence? How do you stay up to date with people to make sure their business is current with the risk mitigation they need?
Yeah, so constant talking to them, doing an annual review with them. I think that is the most important thing. Everybody does an annual checkup with their doctor. They do an annual checkup with their tax accountant. I think insurance should be up there because stuff happens. Things change. You're always changing. So your insurance plan shouldn't stay the same. If that's building increases, what we just saw with supply chain issues.
Oh, right.
So I think, if you're not sitting down with your insurance agent annually or at least over the phone, it needs to be something. I mean, there's so many ways to correspond right now that everybody should be taking that and saying, okay, I'm going to sit down, take 15 or 20 minutes and just let's go over everything to make sure. Because the worst day I have is when a client calls and says, hey, I've got this claim, and then I have to call them back and say, well, it's not covered. It's a bad situation for them. It's a bad situation for me. It's a bad situation all around. So I would say constant correspondence, constant talking, call, text, and just say, hey, this is happening. I mean, Phil, you do a great job of saying, hey, we're doing this. What happens? And so I think that's the best way. I tell my clients all the time, this piece of paper I'm sitting here going over, it's not a one-time a year thing.
Amen.
It's a constant changing document.
Right. And that helps it be fun. And I know you appreciate that because you're looking at it the right way. You're a part of the team. It's a relationship. And how great to be able to have consultants who are providing you with these services. If you're just joining us, here with Trey Wood of Turner, Wood & Smith, I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, on the North Georgia Business RadioX podcast and radio show, and chatting about how to protect your business. So you mentioned more of a formal annual review is important, as well as fairly regular conversation throughout the year. So insurance is something that people don't want to be thinking about all the time. So I would think scheduling of things would be key with that annual review, but then just anytime things change, right? If you add some new vehicles, or if your business is going to do a big expansion, anytime something significant is changing, you want to be speaking with your insurance broker to see what might impact you or what you should be thinking about, because they've seen it all, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, obviously being in this industry for so long, the more you're in it, you see different things and how to react. I always laugh about insurance because it's the only product that you purchase that you're not supposed to use.
Right.
And I just laugh about that because I don't like that. I feel like insurance is obviously a financial equation, and saying, okay, well, if I purchase this, how much can I use of it? Is it right to turn in a claim? And I've got very good customers that call me and say, hey, I've had this damage. What's my best long-term option? Is it to pay it, to turn it in? I tell people insurance is obviously a financing tool to be there when stuff goes wrong. And I would tell my clients, let's have a conversation, but don't be scared to turn in. If you're worried that your premium is going to go up every year, well, then insurance probably, you don't need to purchase it if you're worried about it always going up. Which also goes into, if you're worried about it going up, then you need to be corresponding with your broker, or your broker needs to correspond with you saying, hey, here's what the marketplace is doing right now, and do that. And I feel like at Turnwood Smith, we do a really good job of that.
Well, I think that goes into, too, the power of having a broker that can, shop your policy for you in the market. And, you're dealing with an individual who hopefully has a consultative relationship with you and knows your business, who then can take that knowledge to a broad marketplace to get you the best coverage.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when I think about, insurance, there's a cost, right? And sometimes you get what you pay for. When you're out there and it's a competitive marketplace, are there, low price? We don't need to talk about any names or anything, but who's the main competition? Is it people who maybe aren't doing as good of a job and just go really low and don't provide all the best coverages? Or what do you see out there in the market?
Bid situations are hard. I don't think anybody's a fan of bid situations. I can understand as an owner why you do it, but I also tell owners when they bid it out, don't bid it out just on price. Bid it out, because everybody's going to sit down, throw a proposal down, here's all your same coverages. But is the person coming in there, they making recommendations? Do they have a service plan for you? I say, again, don't make this thing about a one-day event, and that's your renewal date. Make it an annual event, with monthly, quarterly, whatever touch points to sit there and say, hey, this is what we're going to do over the year to make sure. So, yes, price is very important. I tell everybody wants two things: more time and more money. And so I try to take that and say, okay, how can I help my clients have more time? And the fact of, if they're having to handle something on the insurance side, that's taken away from revenue production.
Right.
So give that to me, and then more money. Obviously, we're there to help you, but is saving, $2,000 worth going and not being covered for a claim that's going to cost you $100,000.
And so $500,000 worth of headache, maybe.
That's exactly right. Yeah, when you have a claim, the indirect costs that go into and the time you're spent filling out paperwork, out, talking with people. So that's why we kind of have a full service team at Turnwood Smith to say, let us be your insurance risk manager for you. Anything insurance related, give it to me and let us handle it. So we do that from the claims, the billing, certificates, everything. We take it off of your plate.
I love it. If audience, there's so many business owners listening in, or folks helping run businesses for somebody else. You have so much on your plate, so much to do. If you're listening to this and you're thinking of some changes you need to make with the way you handle insurance, don't think of this as another thing on your to-do list. Think of it as something that is a very worthwhile investment now, upfront, to make sure the right things are in place, to make sure the right team is in place, so you don't have to have the headache down the road, which you don't want. So, thank you for listening in on North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood of Turner Wood Smith. We'll be right back after this break. When the going gets tough, who's got your back? Welcome back to North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood from Turner, Wood & Smith. We're talking about insurance and risk mitigation. Is this the most exciting, sexiest topic that there is? No. Is it important? Yes, it is. If you're just joining us, please go back and listen. There's some great information from Trey in there about different things you need to be looking for to protect yourself, different ways of looking at things. And so you could keep your business running strong and do the things you need to do instead of dealing with a negative outcome that you could have mitigated with either insurance or best practices or both. But I asked, who's the team that has your back? So having a great insurance partner, that's a team, hopefully. It could just be some guy working out of his basement, but hopefully you have a team with that insurance provider that's going to have your back. But I know directly, Trey, that part of the reason you're able to take such great care of people like me is that you have a great team. Tell us a little bit about your team and what are the sorts of roles that have made you so successful?
Yeah, I mean, my success is all due to my team. I mean, I would not be where I am without them. I've got, three great ladies on my team that have been with me for a while, and they do a phenomenal job, an absolutely phenomenal job. I mean, I'll put my team up against any team in North America. From a service standpoint, a response standpoint, a getting things done standpoint, and alleviating headaches, I will put them up against anybody. They do a fantastic job and just help managing me, managing our clients, managing the insurance companies, getting information out, contractors. I'll give you a perfect example with contractors. Their lifeblood is their certificate of insurance.
Right.
And they don't get paid until they get that certificate of insurance. So we have a standard in our office and with my team of how fast we get it out.
All right.
Which that is, again, I would say I don't think anybody else in North America can do as fast as we can. And as good as we can. But my team is so great. My clients, I feel like, love our ladies. I mean, most of them talk to them more than they want to talk to me, which I'm fine with. And then, we have other teams within our office. Like we have a claims team. So, when you have a claim, you call us. These ladies take it down. I mean, one of them's been in our office for 37 years. Whew. So she's seen every claim known
She's
to
been
man.
there your
Yes.
whole life.
We have another lady that's been there, golly, I want to say 10 years. And during this cold spell during Christmas, she was there early, turning in every single claim. I think we had over 100 claims, and she turned in all of them. So we have teams within teams, and then, again, our partnership team and our producer team to bounce ideas off of each other. We take the team approach very serious. When we interview people, we say, this isn't the place for the Lone Ranger. You're going to come here. You're going to provide advice. You're going to help out everybody. And when we look at it, when somebody writes a new piece of business or keeps one, we want the whole team of Turner, Wood & Smith to help them do it. So we are big on the team concept.
I love that. And a couple things that I'm hearing. One, you have a culture. So your firm has a culture established. You're very clear about that to dissuade people who would not add to that culture to join. You want the right people. But then the people on the team have to be in the right seat. I would imagine these three ladies on that best team in North America, very detail-oriented, very responsive. And so they are doing what they do. And I would bet they probably wouldn't enjoy going out and doing what you do, right? But correct. It takes both. You couldn't do what you do without them. They couldn't do what they do without you. And everyone's in the right seat, but you have the same goal.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to do what's best for our client. And that's what we look at. And, not best for what's Turner, Wood & Smith, best for our client. If that is telling them some bad news, or saying, hey, you might need to go check out this option, we do that. But yeah, they are very customer focused because at the end of the day, if we don't do a good job for our clients, they're not going to be with us. And if they're not growing, we're not growing. So yeah, my team is very attention to detail. I say it all the time. I actually want to paint it on our office. Attention to detail and responsiveness is the two keys what we have.
If you're just joining us on North Georgia Business Radio X, I'm your host, Phil Benelli, here with Trey Wood of Turner Wood Smith Insurance. Wrapping up what has been a very enjoyable show and talking about, team and how their team is successful. And of these 40 people now and this third generation firm, establishing that culture, right? And having the focus on service. So many guests that we've talked to, that is what it's all about. There's so many things that go to running a business, but if you're focused on serving your customers, that's your lifeblood, you're going to be successful. That's what you build your model around.
Yeah, I think that's what we're called to do. More than just a business, but as a person is here to serve. So we take that very serious. You mentioned culture. I think culture is everything. I think nowadays it's harder to create a good culture just with the work from home and people in different time zones and everybody everywhere. And I think, COVID made this happen, but we can take the best advantage of it. And so we try to do what we can on our culture to make this the best workplace that it can be.
Right. And I love that. Just like with your clients, you want an abundance of communication. And it sounds like you do that with prospective people on the team too, letting them know this is what the culture is, this is what the expectation is, to make sure you get the right fit. And then regular communication to keep the culture going.
That's what I feel like with our team. We have a very open and honest, the biggest, not as much as me giving them feedback, but them giving me feedback because I'm all about efficiency. And if I'm doing something to not make their job efficient, that's a problem.
I love that.
So, yeah.
So, all right. So you solicit regular feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And is this just fairly informal? Like, hey, if there's something I need to know, let me know it? Or in scheduled meetings?
Yeah. So, we were doing scheduled meetings. We have implemented some work from home options, which have made it a challenge to be in-person meetings. But so I've gone to saying, yeah, hey, if I need some feedback, give it to me. Like I'll take it, anywhere. So yeah, I think that's the best thing. We talk about insurance, but we also run a small business here.
Right.
And I think the biggest way that businesses can grow is having constant feedback, constant team meetings. Everybody knows me. I'm a huge Georgia fan. And I think Kirby Smart implemented these skull sessions that I've tried to take bits and pieces of it, put it in our office, just to talk to people. I think at the end of the day, you got to care about the person and their overall personality and development and how their well-being is.
Well, this is being some good learnings for me because when we talked about you being a consultant for your customers, we talked about you were in fairly consistent dialogue with them informally. You're just talking to them. If there's an update you have for them or they have for you, y'all need to be talking, as well as a more formal, say annual review. With your team, there is constant communication, but there is also so there's informal, which needs to happen, and then there's formal times. I imagine with your wife, as with my wife, you're talking to each other in that every day, and that is great. You got to be talking. You can't only talk on date night because there's things going on. But it's important to have some sort of structured sit down with the only goal of communication too. So just a good lesson of you need to have informal and formal communications to make sure you get everything out.
Yeah, my wife will tell you that I take a lot of good feedback, and I welcome feedback. That's the only way to change and make everything better. So, amen.
Well, and kudos to you, that for having a growth mindset and wanting to continuously improve. I was just speaking with some students about that this morning, actually, about how you need to have humility and a desire to improve so that when you get feedback, some critical feedback, you want to get better versus your pride shutting that down. So, Trey, it's been a delight to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you need somebody who is, if you don't have a risk mitigation partner, call Trey because he's a great one. Make sure you look at your insurance coverage, protect your business, and tune in several weeks from now when we'll have our Turner Wind Smith Part 2 and speak about employee benefits. Thank you, Trey.
Thanks, Phil, for having me.
You've been listening to North Georgia Business Radio X with Phil Vanelli. What local business do you know that should be highlighted on our program? Let us know. Just search North Georgia Business Radio X on Facebook or contact Bo at businessradiox.com. See you next time, and remember to support our local businesses.